Happy Memorial Day, guys. You know, one of the things that makes America so incredible, as I'm sure you would agree, is that we were founded on the idea of these self-evident natural rights. And that these rights were not created by government, and they weren't granted by government. They were recognized by our government and by our constitutional republic as self-evident rights that sprung from our humanity and were granted to us by our creator. These are our natural rights. They're not positive or legal rights that are invented out of thin air by some judge in a coat in the courts, but rather they spring from our very humanity. And that most and important right of all, from which all other rights flow, is of course the right to life. And so today we think about, recognize, commemorate, and honor those who put their lives down to defend these natural rights that our country staked their lives on and said, we, beside all of these other countries who were abusing human rights and who were creating rights out of the legal system, said, no, we're going to stand on these natural rights and protect those first and foremost. And yet one of the tragedies of our time today, so many years, hundreds of years after the founding of this country, is that we're still denying that first and most fundamental right to an entire class of human beings, the unborn children in our midst. And if you believe that these are self-evident natural truths and rights, that we have life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and that government was created to protect these rights, then you have to be an advocate of the unborn children in our midst who are having their first and most important right stripped from them as their deaths are justified under reproductive health care and feminism. And for all of you trolls who are spouting bigotry on my Instagram, talking about the unborn not being a human or not being a person, you are spewing the same type of historical bigotry that has been thrown into the ash heap of history. And you should have learned by now the mistake of saying that some humans are not persons. That has never ended well. Ideas have consequences and bad ideas have victims, and your ideas are bad, filthy, and disgusting because not only do they justify the slaughter of babies in the womb whose deaths you call reproductive health care, but your ideas also destroy human equality. Because if you say we can kill the baby because it's not a person, and it's not a person because it doesn't have certain functions or capacities like ability to feel pain or sentience that I say the child needs in order to be a person, I'll show you a born person who doesn't meet that same criteria and could therefore be killed as well. So pro-abortion ideas both justify the slaughter of babies and destroy human equality. And those types of evil ideas are what people went and died to fight for this country. Those lives that we remember today were laid down in order to defend the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the very rights that unfortunately half of our countrymen deny to human beings at their most vulnerable stage of development in the womb. So some things to think about as we're enjoying our lives and this day and our holiday and time with family and food and the small pleasures of life that we've been granted, is that a whole class of human beings doesn't have those rights because we've allowed the courts to just invent these rights and say that they don't apply to the unborn. It's only by grounding human value in our shared human nature, which began at the moment of conception, that we can maintain human equality. Thank you, and happy Memorial Day.